započnemo intervju ili ako Dejan hoće da kaže nekoliko uvodnih reči kada onda krenemo na intervju.
Ako bi mogli da predstave i ovog drugog momka koji je sa nama.
It will be highly appreciated if you can introduce your fellow man.
Yes, this is Andrew Tucker. He's our associate producer at Task and Purpose. He's a combat veteran of the war in Afghanistan.
Moj kolega je također je producent ovoga kanala, on je također učestvovao u ratu u Iraku.
Afganistan.
Afghanistan, sorry, my bad. I Afganistan također.
Pa šta bi vam ja rekao za početak, mi smo već pričali pre neki dan, naši stavovi su apsolutno suprotni, međutim to nije razlog da ne pričamo. Mi nismo veliki političari, mi nismo neki visoki generali. Političari i generali se sigurno neće sresti na bojnom polju, a mi hoćemo. I ja mislim da priča može uvek da donese nešto dobro.
Fact of the matter is, we already had a discussion a few days ago, and we agreed that we totally disagree. Nevertheless, we are not generals, we are not politicians, so therefore our role could be just to try to understand each side or each other much better, and I do believe that this is the only way to create bridges among us.
I agree. And with that, I think we could start with the questions. What is your
nakon toga ja mislim da možemo da počnemo sa pitanjem.
What is your name, age, rank and unit?
Koje je tvoje ime, koji je tvoj čin i u kakvoj jedinici služiš?
Moje ime je Dejan Beric, vojničko ime je Deki, kapetan sam armije Donjetske republike. Znači, Kris je rekao da ja sam u ruskoj armiji, ja nisam u ruskoj armiji, ja sam kapetan armije Donjetske republike i sa 2014. godine ratujem tamo. Služio sam u nekoliko jedinica, bio sam u ličnom obezbeđenju Aleksandra Zaharčenka, snajper i izviđač.
My name is Dejan Beric, my rank is captain, and I am part of Donetsk People Republic Army. I do believe that Chris just misinterpreted that I am part of the Russian army. I am not. I am part of the Donetsk People's Republic Army. I served in several different units. At one point, I was even a personal bodyguard for the president of Donetsk Republic, Mr. Zaharchenko.
I ja se nadam da uskoro posle glasanja koje se završilo juče, da ću konačno i ja postati vojnik ruske armije, jer će zajedno sa republikama i naša armija da se prisjedini ruskoj armiji.
Then again, Chris might be right that, due to the fact that after the referendum that already took place in our republic, I do believe that soon we will become part of the Russia, and therefore I will become a part of the Russian army, as I dreamed about for so long time.
Would you also get Russian citizenship at that point?
Da li ćeš dobiti tada i rusko državljanstvo?
Ja imam rusko državljanstvo.
Ništa nisam čuo.
Ja imam rusko državljanstvo. Imam kuću u Rusiji, imam farmu, imam svoj privatni biznis u Rusiji.
I already have a Russian citizenship. I do have my own house in Russia, and to be quite honest with you, I do have a small farm that I am handling as a private person.
Can you tell me, where were you born originally?
Da li možeš da mi kažeš gdje se ti rodio?
Ja se rodio blizu Beograda. Beograd, to je glavni grad Srbije. Tada je to bila još Jugoslavija. Bila glavni grad Jugoslavije tada.
I was born in a place near to Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. At that time it was the capital of Yugoslavia.
I živeo sam u selu koje se zove Putinci. Interesantno.
And I lived in a place and I lived in a place called Putinci, next to Belgrade.
Walk me through, how did you get introduced to the military? Did you have family members in the Serbian forces? How did you first get introduced to the armed forces?
Da li možeš da mi objasniš tvoj vojnički put? Da li je možda neko iz tvoje familije bio vojnik, odnosno oficir, i kako si ti uopšte stao oficirom?
Mojih oba dva deda su učestvovali u Drugom svjetskom ratu, borili su se protiv fašista i oni su me vaspitavali. Ja sam oficirom stao u Donjeckoj republici.
Fact of the matter is, both of my grandparents, they fought in the Second World War. They fought fights against German Nazi. And to be quite honest, I become an officer in Donetsk People's Republic. In Yugoslavia and in Serbia, I was ordinary soldier.
A u Jugoslaviji sam bio običan vojnik. Učestvovao sam u građanskom ratu i u ratu 1999. godine protiv NATO.
I was involved in the civil war, which broke up in former Yugoslavia, and also I participated in war with NATO in 1999.
Sve u svemu, u ratu sam proveo oko 15 godina.
All in all, I am in a war for pretty much 15 years so far.
So can you explain for people who don't know, who were the two sides in the Kosovo War? When did that happen? You give me a little bit of background about that?
Za ljude koji to ne znaju, da li možeš da nam objasniš koje su dve strane koje su bile u sukobu na Kosovu i šta se zaista tamo desilo?
Prije početka rata na Kosovu, Amerikanci su tražili od Miloševića da kupe jedan deo Kosova gde bi izgradili bazu Bonstil. Milošević je otkazao od prodaje Kosova i zatim je počeo...
Before the war broke out in former Serbia, on the Kosovo, to be quite precise, United States of America did demand to get a plot of the lands to build an army base. Currently, they do have that, and the name is Bonstil. Carry on.
During the war,
you
fought, what was Russia's involvement? Did you fight alongside Russians?
Mogu da završim, pa onda posle da postavi drugo pitanje.
I'm sorry, Chris. There was a problem with my interpretation because I stepped into his sentence. I didn't want to misinterpret anything or to forget anything. So therefore, please do allow him to finish his sentence.
Sure.
2 godine do početka rata, albanska vojska na Kosovu je bila na spisku terorističkih organizacija u Sjedinjenim Američkim Državama.
2 years before the war breakout in Kosovo and Metohija, you have to understand that KLA, or Kosovo Liberation Army, was on the list as a terrorist organization, even in the United States of America.
When you were in this war in Kosovo, what was Russia's involvement?
Za vreme tvog rata na Kosovu, koje je bilo učešće Rusije? Da li oni su imali bilo kakvu ulogu tamo?
Bili su ruski dobrovoljci kod nas.
To the best of my knowledge, only Russian volunteers came to fight along us.
Verovatno je bilo i nekih pripadnika određenih službi, kao u svakom ratu. Nema rata gde nema pripadnika službi, ali ja lično ih nisam video. Ja sam učestvovao u ratu, to je već pozadinski rat.
Maybe there was other people who were there. Maybe they represented some government organization of the Russia, but not to my knowledge. I cannot vouch for any of it due to the fact that I was a soldier and I was in my trenches.
You became close with these Russian volunteers.
Da li si se upoznao i da li si bio dobar sa tim ruskim dobrovoljcima?
Da, i na Kosovu, i u Bosni, i u Hrvatskoj gde su bili.
Yes, I was quite close to them, and they were quite close to me, and we fight together in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Croatia, and on Kosovo and Metohija as well.
You stayed in touch with them?
Tako da, znači, ti si s njima u kontaktu bio cijelo to vreme.
Da.
Yes.
So the story that we hear in the West is that the NATO bombings helped end the war, helped bring peace in Kosovo. What are your thoughts on that?
Priča koju mi imamo ovdje na zapadu je da je NATO bombardovanje donelo mir na Kosovu i Metohiji. A koje je tvoje mišljenje o tome?
Pa vidi, znači za vreme Jugoslavije kosovski Albanci su, ako su, na primjer, Srbi morali da upišu fakultet i da imaju 100 bodova da bi upisali fakultet, Albanci su to mogli da urade sa 60 bodova.
Well, let me just give you some examples how was the situation in Yugoslavia. For example, if an ordinary Serb would like to get involved in university, they had to have approximately 100 points, which will be measured on his own exams. In quite contrast, the Albanians could get enrolled with 60 points only because they were minorities.
Sve su imali besplatno, besplatnu školu, besplatno zdravstvo, sve.
They had pretty much everything for free, such as free education, free medical support, pretty much everything was for free.
Šta je predstavljalo problem na Kosovu? Znači, albanska armija je ubijala policajce po ulicama, postavljala bombe u škole, postavljala bombe na policajske učastke. Sve to što vi u Americi nazivate teroristi, to je radila, Albanci su radili na Kosovu.
So-called Kosovo Liberation Army started to attack the policemen and to kill them on the street, on the crossing roads. They start to plant the bombs in the school. Pretty much what you will in the United States describe as terrorists, they had that modus operandi. So they try to create as much chaos as possible.
Trgovlje organima na Kosovu je bilo veoma zastupljeno zajedno sa Turskom i Ujedinjenim Arapskim Emiratima. Na Kosovu su nestajali srpske žene, uglavnom žene i deca, i sa njihovim organima je trgovao i sadašnji predsjednik Kosova. I u to vreme i za vreme rata.
And I also need to point out that so-called Kosovo Liberation Army was heavily involved in trafficking of internal organs. You have to understand there was numerous civilians that disappeared on Kosovo and Metohija. Predominantly that was children and females, and we do know that they trade with those internal organs on the open market in Turkey and Saudi Arabia. One of the instigators of those trading was a current president of Kosovo and Metohija.
I u Međunarodnom sudu u Hagu su svi ti dokazi izneti. Znači, Srbija je morala da uradi isto to što bi uradila svaki štat u Americi, znači morala je da se bori protiv terorista.
All those evidence were presented in International Tribunal in Hague, and you have to understand that Serbia, as a sovereign country, had to do whatever is necessary in order to defend law and order on their territory.
And what impact did the NATO bombings in Kosovo have on you and your perspective towards NATO?
Bombardovanje NATO, kako je ono imalo utjecaj na tebe i na tvoj pogled na NATO kao organizaciju?
NATO kao organizacija je za mene i pre toga bila teroristička organizacija. Ako pogledate istoriju NATO, važni ljudi u NATO su bili oficiri koji su u Hitlerovoj Nemačkoj služili u SS divizijama. To su oficijalni podaci koje možete da vidite bilo gde na internetu.
The matter is, even before that unfortunate war on Kosovo and Metohija, I thought of NATO as terrorist organization due to the fact that lots of SS officers from the Nazi Germany was heavily involved in creation of NATO structures, and they were in charge of some certain NATO units. So therefore, my opinion in regards to NATO did not change whatsoever.
I oni su bombardovanjem tada, znači NATO je prekršio svoj ustav, prekršio je ustav Ujedinjenih nacija, prekršio je sve moguće pravne norme kada je bombardovao Srbiju 1999. godine.
And therefore, it was just a proof of my belief in 1999 when the NATO disregarded their own constitution, the Constitution of the United Nations. They did not abide to any United Nations charters or even to NATO charters themselves that they created themselves. So ever since that bombardments, I have just a stronger feeling that NATO is a terrorist organization.
What was life like for you after the war in Kosovo ended?
Kako je tvoj život bio posle rata na Kosovu?
Kod mene se ništa posebno nije promenilo. Mi smo znali da će da počne rat na Kosovu i 4 dana pre početka bombardovanja, pošto se ja služio u specijalnoj jedinici 72. brigadi u Jugoslaviji, znači 4 dana pre početka rata otišao sam kao dobrovoljac.
Posle rata, Dejan, posle rata.
Pre rata, 4 dana pre početka rata otišao sam kao dobrovoljac.
Okay. Well, he would just like to point out that he was a member of the special forces called 72nd Brigade, and he went to war 4 days before the NATO starts to bombard Serbia.
A posle rata, rat se završio, ja se vratio kući i dalje sam nastavio da radim civilni posao koji sam radio i ranije.
And soon as the war ended, I went back to my home and I continued to do my usual civilian work.
I jedino što sam bio sam ljut kao i svi moji drugari, moji sasluživci, drugari s kojima sam bio u ratu, zato što nas je Milošević izdao jer je krenuo da pregovara sa Zapadom, koji ga je naravno prevario, slagao kao i uvek što radi.
And to be quite honest, I was quite disappointed, especially with the former president of Serbia, Mr. Slobodan Milošević, due to the fact that he was getting engaged in negotiation with the West. He believed them and they treat them as usual. That is the modus operandi that Western politician does have, and he ended up in Hague.
Možda vi ne znate, ali u Hagu Miloševića nisu osudili za ništa, ubili su ga tamo i po mom ličnom mišljenju Milošević nije napravio ništa da bi njemu sudili u Hagu, ali je napravio mnogo grešaka zbog kojih mu je trebalo suditi u Srbiji. Znači i u jedan i u drugi rat je ušao jer su ga naterali, ali nije smeo da izda ni nas borce ni naš narod. Za izdaju svog naroda trebao je da odgovara.
I also would like to point out that maybe you are not aware, but Slobodan Milošević was never convicted in an international tribunal in Hague. He died there, and if he was guilty in front of the Serbian people due to the fact that he made so many mistakes, but those mistakes definitely put Serbian people in much harsh environments than before.
I'm interested in knowing personally what what civilian work did you do once the war ended?
Mene zanima čime si se ti bavio kada je rat završio? Koji je to posao koji si ti obavljao?
Ja sam kao mali učio, kako se kaže, aluminijumska i PVC stolarija, pravio sam prozore i vrata, radio sam kod jednog privatnika dugo vreme, a kasnije sam otvorio svoju firmu.
I was heavily involved in construction business. Predominantly, I was, to be quite honest, I do not know what would be the proper word in English, but he was installing the windows and doors, which are made out of the aluminum and PVC.
When I got back from Iraq, I got into film. I always wanted to make videos and tell stories, documentaries. Did you see yourself going back into the military, or were you like, I'm done with this after this war?
Recimo, ja kada sam se vratio iz Iraka, ja sam krenio u stvaranje filmova i videa. Meni se to svidjelo. A što se tebe tiče, kada se rat završio, da li si ti hteo da se ponovo, da li je tebi nedostajala armija, da li je tebi nedostajala vojska?
Uopšte nije. Znači, uopšte nije nedostajala. Ja volim miran život, volim životinje, ratuješ zato što moraš. Ali ja knjige pišem, tako da
no.
ti si snimao filmove, a ja sam pisao knjige.
Well, fact of the matter is, you went into film business and I wrote the books. I have to be quite honest with you, no, I did not feel any regret that I left the army because, due to the fact that I'm a peaceful person. I really do love animals. I love freedom. I love to be on air. So no, I did not miss military whatsoever. But in war, you have to understand that in war you have to you go only because you have to.
So do I understand correctly that from the end of the Kosovo War up until 2014, it was peace for you?
Da li sam je tebe dobro razumio, znači da od 1999. godine kada se završio rat na Kosovu i Metohiji do 2014. godine ti si živeo u miru.
Da.
Yes, you're quite correct.
Walk me through what brought you back into military service at that point.
Dakle, možeš da mi objasniš šta je te onda povuklo da se vratiš u vojsku, odnosno ponovo počneš ratovati?
Rusi koji su bili dobrovoljci kod nas, pozvali su me kad su počela dešavanja na Krimu. Jednostavno su pozvali, rekli su da li hoćeš da dođeš, da vratiš dug. Ja sam jednom prilikom rekao, ako vam bude trebala pomoć, javite se, ja ću doći. Ostavio sam posao odmah, dobro plaćen posao i otišao na Krim.
Well, to be quite honest, I had a pretty good and decent business in Serbia. And then I just received a phone call from one of those Russian volunteers that were with me in Bosnia and Herzegovina and on Kosovo. They asked me to come to join them in order to help them on the situation on Crimea Peninsula. And so I just dropped everything, and of course, in my mind, that was the death of honor. So I had to go, I had to help them out to repay my debt.
I
Can you elaborate?
Posle dešavanja na Krimu, mislio sam se vratiti opet poslu, jer to se završilo brzo i bez ikakvih problema. Međutim, kada sam video prve slike koje su došle sa Donbasa, gde su ukrajinski vojnici marširali sa nacističkim zastavama, jednostavno nisam mogao da ne odem tamo i da produžim ratna dejstva. Moj deda se borio protiv nacista i ja sam morao to da produžim.
I was at the belief that I will go home as soon as the situation in Crimea stabilized, which, as you do know, did not take too much time to stabilize as is. But when I started to pack my bags, I saw on the television the reports how the Ukrainian soldiers attacked Donbass. They attacked it not only with Ukrainian flag, they had a Nazi flag on them as well. And that is the thing that kept me there, because my grandpa was fighting against Nazi, and therefore I just followed that steps. And I had to go to fight with the Nazi as well.
So you fought then in the Donbass between 2014 and 2018?
To znači ti se onda borio od 2014. do 2018. godine u Donbasu?
Da, od 2014. do avgusta 2018. Tada sam bio teško ranjen, inače ja imam 5 puljevih ranjenja, izbijena su mi sve sustavi, sva pleća, vrat, imam 8 kontuzija. Kad je jedna od kontuzija je bila takva da su mi krv išla i na uši i na oči, nisam neko vreme mogao uopšte da pričam. Tako da, i 2018. teško ranjen, otišao sam bio da se lečim, oženio se i onda je prišlo vreme da se ponovo vraćam kad je krenula specijalna vojna operacija.
I was there from 2014 until the August of 2018. At that time, I was heavily wounded. Nevertheless, I had 5 different wounds made by the bullets, and I was under the artillery fire, enemy artillery fire, for several times. I had so many concussions, so many damage of my internal organs. So at that time, I had to go to recruit myself. So I went into Russia, I got married, and I returned back when the special operation started in Ukraine in February 2022.
Can you walk me through what was the combat like in the Donbass at that time? How would you compare it to Kosovo?
Would you be so kind and just be more precise? When you say Donbass, are you referring to 2014, 2018?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
could you
Sorry,
go ahead.
Da li možeš da objasniš kakva je razlika bila u ratu na Donbasu od 2014. do 2018. i Kosova? Da li ima nekih sličnosti ili je to sve potpuno drugačije?
Ne, nema nikakvih sličnosti. U ratu na Kosovu jedino je u jednom reonu Kosova... Da, je se čujemo?
Sad se čujem.
Da, rekao, nema nikakvih sličnosti zato što u ratu na Donbasu su uglavnom sve direktni udari, a na Kosovu samo na jednom delu teritorije su pokušali da probiju našu odbranu zajedno. Tamo su bili i Francuzi, i Englezi, i najomnici Amerikanci, i albanska armija nisu uspeli. A na svim drugim teritorijama Srbije uglavnom je bilo bombardovanje. A na Donbasu tamo su bliske borbe. Prsa u prsa, može se reći.
Well, there is a huge difference due to the fact that, for example, on Kosovo and Metohija, there was only one place where the so-called Kosovo Liberation Army and Kosovo and Albanian Army, supported by some French soldiers, English soldiers, United States soldiers, they are trying to break through our defense line. And to the best of my knowledge, they were quite unsuccessful. In quite contrast, in Donbass, there was close combat on various locations, so it is very hard to compare it. Especially that Western Serbia was under the constant bombardment by the NATO aircrafts, which did not happen in Donbass between 2014 and 2018.
What are some of the ways that technology has changed warfare since 2000?
Kako je tehnologija promenila način ratovanja od 2000. godine na ovam?
Vidi, 2014. godine kad je počeo rat, ratovalo se klasično. Znači sve ono što smo mi učili kao vojnici, znači maskirovka, vojna taktika, sve je bilo standardno do pre jedno godinu dana kada su krenuli Ukrajinci da koriste dronove masovno i tada se sve promenilo. Znači rat 2014. 15. 16. je bio jedan, a od prošle godine je počeo rat tehnologija.
Well, since 2014 up to, let's say, 2021, we had a conventional war, so which means that we used classic military tactics with camouflage, with tactical units, as we were told and we were taught in our Yugoslav army at that time. But in 2021, the Ukrainian side started to utilize drones, and that changed pretty much everything due to the fact that right now we have a technological war, much more technological than it was before.
Takođe, na primjer, ja sam uništio jednu grupu američkih snajperista i uzeo sam njihovu opremu. Tamo su bili jako moćni teplovizioni uređaji koje smo mi kasnije koristili i shvatili smo da sve to što smo mi ranije radili tipa maskiranja više nema nikakvog smisla, jer s takvim moćnim teplovizionim uređajima oni mogu mnogo toga da vide.
At one point in Donbass, we managed to take out one group of American snipers, and with them we found lots of different gears, equipment. Predominantly those were thermal vision cameras and thermal vision optics. And then I realized that situation dramatically changed because there is no more night. Everything is visible just like a day.
Do you use any thermal or night vision capabilities in your operations?
Da li ti koristiš termo ili noćne uređaje u svojim operacijama?
Da, sada ih koristimo. Međutim, to što smo uzeli je bilo nešto najmoćnije što sam ja video. Međutim, sada jako to brzo sve napreduje i mi smo mnogo takvih posle aparata kupili od ukrajinske armije, tako da je naša armija sad snabdevena sa njima, ali ih ima jako malo. Ja koristim i moja grupa takođe koristi, međutim i dalje mnogo fali.
I just want to be very honest. Yes, I did use night visions and thermal optics before, but when I compare whatever I had with equipment that we managed to take from those American snipers, it's just a childish game. That kind of equipment just was, to my mind, mind-blowing. I did not know how far technology went in that regard. Right now, we do have a powerful thermal visions and night optics. Nevertheless, we do not have that in enough quantities. And I have to stress that we purchased lots of that equipment from Ukrainians.
Can you elaborate a little bit about how drone warfare has changed war? What are some of the ways that you shoot them down, or do you use them yourself to spot people? How have UAVs changed war?
Da li možeš da nam malo pojasniš kako su dronovi promenili način ratovanja? Da li je to samo pokušavate da ih uništite ili ih možda i vi koristite za izviđanje i za napade?
Vidi, znači što se tiče dronova, ranije smo mi izviđanje uglavnom vršili pešadijom, znači mi idemo napred i izviđamo, kao što su svi drugi radili. Međutim, sad nema nikakvog smisla ići napred zato što najobičniji dron Mavic 3 može mnogo dobro i pravilno da se koristi na prvoj liniji fronta. Znači koristimo ih i mi, Ukrajinci ih imaju mnogo više i jako dobro umeju da ih koriste.
Fact of the matter is, in the very beginning, we used to do a recon by old-fashioned foot. So we went into, let's say, a wood to try to investigate, is there any enemy soldier? But right now we do not do that anymore. Right now we are using drones and even a small Mavic 3 DJI quadcopter is much better option to use for the recon missions. And I have to admit that Ukrainians are pretty skillful in using those drones, and they have much more than we have.
Along those lines, how have you noticed Ukrainian training skills, fight change since 2014? Has their army changed much since 2014?
Da li možeš da uporediš ukrajinsku armiju iz 2014. i sada? Da li ima nekih pomaka? Da li su bolje organizovani? Da li su bolje obučeni nego što su bili 2014?
Što se tiče pešadije, znači kakvi su bili kukavice i loši vojnici, takvi su i današnji dan.
If we are talking about infantrymen, no, I cannot say that there is a great difference. I do believe that they are cowards and they are not that great soldier on the field.
Uglavnom, borbe među njima i nama traju maksimum tamo po pola sata, 40 minuta i oni koji nisu poginuli ili se predaju ili begaju.
Predominantly, whenever we get into close combat, the fight does not last more than 30-45 minutes, and after that they are surrendering themselves predominantly.
Međutim, što se tiče artiljerije, oni su napredovali u odnosu na 2014-2015 godinu, verovatno tamo 10.000%. Uopšte, znači ona armija koja je bila ukrajinska sa artiljerijom na početku rata, ova sadašnja je sasvim druga. Mnogo su napredovali, jako mnogo.
In regards to artillery, I can say that there is a huge quantum leap, we can say. They are at least 10,000 times more precise than they were in 2014. You cannot compare those two armies in that regards. They become much more precise, and they are utilizing artillery in excellent manner.
You say that your feelings about Ukrainian soldiers are that they are cowards. Would you agree with the theory that you should not underestimate your enemy?
Ti si rekao da su Ukrajinci kukavice. Ti se možda ne bi složio s time da ne treba podcenjivati protivnika.
Pa ja ih ne podcenjujem, prosto ja se borio s njima i video sam kako se oni bore. Naprimjer, od početka ovog rata mi imamo nekih 7-8 hiljada njihovih zarobljenih vojnika.
You asked me for my opinion and I gave you exactly as is. You do know, I do respect my opponents, but then again, I always speak with open minds and I try to state the facts as I see it. As you do know, currently we have somewhere between 7,000 to 8,000 of Ukrainian soldiers as POW.
I ja kad sam išao, kad idemo u akciju ja i tako svi moji učenici, znači koji su borci, ja ih učim da uvek neprijatelj pred tobom je najbolji na svetu. Znači ti se trenutno boriš protiv najboljeg neprijatelja na svetu koji postoji i tako moraš da ideš u napad. Sad šta tamo bude, uglavnom nema toga da ja podcenjujem, nikad nisam podcenjivao protivnika.
I never underestimate my enemy due to the fact that whenever we are trying to go to attack the enemy positions, I always try to convey the message to my fellow soldiers that the enemy in front of us are the best possible soldiers in the world. And we have to be very careful how we are going to conduct ourselves during that attack. But what will happen? Well, situation was as it was.
We're talking about how war has changed, how technology has changed war. you were telling me a story of how you now are able to speak directly with Ukrainian snipers on social media, connect with them, meet and pick a place to meet and fight. Can you tell me about that experience? Because this is to me completely new in war.
Ono što je za mene novo u ovom ratu i koliko je tehnologija promenila način ratovanja je i taj razgovor koji si ti meni, na prošlom razgovoru koji si ti meni rekao, da se ti preko socijalnih mreža dogovarao sa ukrajinskim snajperistima za duele i da se dogovarali gdje ćete se naći da izvršite taj duel. Da li bi mogao malo više da kažeš o tome?
Ja s početka rata, kao i svaki snajperista, bio sam neizvestan, međutim praviteljstvo Srbije je bukvalno maltretiralo bivšu ženu i sina i ja sam izašao u javnost. Posle toga su već Da.
At the very beginning of that unfortunate war in Ukraine, I was pretty much unknown to anyone. Nevertheless, the government of Serbia, they come to my house and they harassed my family, my wife and my son. Therefore, I reveal my face on camera and I start to become known face on TV as sniper, Serbian sniper.
Posle toga u jednom boju gde je bilo mnogo njihovih vojnika, neću pričati sad cifre koliko sam ih uništio, međutim po raciji preneo sam im da se dobro čuvaju zato što je tu srpski snajper i da sa mnom nema zajebancije. I posle toga je krenuo lov na mene tamo na...
There was one battle where we were involved with significant amount of Ukrainian soldiers. I do not want to say how many enemies did I destroy, but it was sizable. Nevertheless, over the communication, we listened to Ukrainian communications as well. I heard that they were announcing that there is a Serbian sniper on the Russian side and the soldiers has to be very careful because he is no joke. I mean, a Serbian sniper is not joke.
U toj grupi koja je poginula bili su 4 snajperiste, a njihov učitelj je sebe nazivao Mariupoljskim bogom. I posle on mene našao u socijalnim mrežama i počeo da mi piše. Znači, prevedi.
In that group that we had an encounter with, they had 4 snipers and all of them were destroyed. Their instructor was a person from Mariupol. He called himself on the social networks as God of Mariupol. And after that battle, he searched me, looked for me in social networks and he found me.
I ja prvo nisam to shvatao ozbiljno što je on meni pisao, međutim posle toga počeo je da ubija civile i svaki put mi je slao poruku na socijalnu mrežu V-kontakti gde je pisao konkretno dan i gde je ubio civila i gde ga je pogodio. Ja sam to proveravao i ispadalo je da je tačno.
He was trying to organize duel with me over the social network, but I didn't thought that it is for real. I thought it was some kind of a joke. Nevertheless, after a few days, he started to send me the pictures of civilians that he shoot inside of Mariupol or some other villages. Then he wrote exact dates, time, and places where he executes some of the civilians and how he executes them. And I checked those data and turned out to be the truth. Then I accepted his challenge for the place and time.
I onda je bukvalno me ucenjivao, rekao je ako ne dođeš na taj deo fronta tamo, ja ću te tamo čekati, ja ću ponovo ubiti nekog od civila i ja jednostavno nisam mogao da ne idem na ta mesta gde me on priglašavao, međutim, uglavnom on nije dolazio, slao je neke druge i sve te koje je slao bili su ubijeni. Do jednog trenutka, ako si gledao film Vojna rat snajpera, tamo ima taj trenutak kada sam ja na front zoni i njega ubio. I posle toga su svi najbolji ukrajinski snajperisti koji su bili pisali meni na V kontakte, priglašali na duele i više niko od njih nije živ.
I have to point out that there was certain blackmails issued by that guard of Mariupol because he was challenging me to come to a certain part of the front unless if I do not show up, that he will kill another civilian until I show myself. And of course, I accept those challenges, but unfortunately, he was not there. He sent some of his students to play the role of sniper duels until one day. And if you watch the movie that we recommend you to watch, you will find out that I found him on industrial zone, and that was his ends. I found him and I eliminated him.
Why would a Ukrainian shoot civilians on their own side of their own country?
Zašto bi Ukrajinac ubivao civile na svojoj strani? Zašto bi odnosno ubivao svoje Ukrajince?
Vi treba nešto da shvatite. Tamo ne ratuju Ukrajinci protiv Ukrajinaca. Tamo ratuju nacisti, realni nacisti, kojima je sve jedno ko je sa druge strane.
You have to understand one thing. It is not a war where the Ukrainians are fighting against Ukrainians. On their side, we have a few Nazi, and they doesn't give a damn with whom they are fighting with. Are they going to murder a civilian? Because Nazi does not have a nationality.
Trebali bi, a verovatno ste imali mogućnost da vidite, Lugansk je bombardovala ukrajinska avijacija, bombardovala je centar grada na početku rata gde uopšte nije bilo nikakve armije, bili su obični civili i poginulo je mnogo ljudi. Ukrajinska avijacija je bombardovala plaže gde se kupala deca. Sve to imate na internetu, možete da vidite gde su deca ubijena. Za njih svi ovde koji su, to su ruski, za njih ti civili nisu Ukrajinci, to su prosto ljudi koje treba uništiti.
You have to understand that at the very beginning of this war, Ukrainian aviation, they bombarded the Luhansk city, even though there was no military unit in it. So they purely killed civilians over there. They even bombarded some beaches on the rivers near to Donetsk and Lugansk cities as well. Which definitely does explain that they do not care. Are they going to kill a civilian or a soldier due to the fact that they do not treat any person who is within the Donetsk or Lugansk People Republic as Ukrainian. They treat them as Russian. They treat them as subhuman. So it is a person that has to be eliminated.
Jesi mu rekao da to može da vidi sve na internetu, a to postoji?
And definitely you can find loads of videos that corroborate my words on YouTube. It's not Russian videos only. You can find that the Ukrainian side also put them online, and even some independent journalists.
Takođe ima video gde ukrajinska armija, ne ukrajinska armija, nego ti nacionalni bataljoni u Mariupolju 9. maja doveli su bili teško naoružanje, znači mitraljeze 12,7 mm i snimali su kako ubijaju ukrajinske policajce koji su služili u to vreme. Znači napali su kasarnu da bi oduzeli oružje, pobili su sve ukrajinske policajce, to su snimili i pustili su taj video, on postoji. Iz kog razloga? Da bi ih se svi plašili. često se dešava, poslije ću prevesti.
There is also a video freely online that took place on 9th of May, where those Nazi battalions arrived in Mariupol. They had a high caliber 12.7 millimeter machine gun, and they fired upon the police officers, just shooting them, destroying them. And then they attacked the barrack, the military barrack inside of Mariupol, and took arms for themselves. Why did they do that? Just to install the fear in ordinary civilians.
Did you fight in Mariupol?
Da li se ti borio u Mariupolu?
Ne, kad su bile borbe u Mariupolju, sada ove godine, ja sam bio na kijevskom pravcu.
No, in 2022, while the battle for Mariupol was raging, I was near Kiev at that time.
Okay. I'm having trouble understanding why a Ukrainian sniper would purposely shoot civilians in Mariupol when their stated goal was to recapture that city. It doesn't compute for me.
Ono što meni nije jasno, zašto bi ukrajinski snajper ubijao civila ako su oni pokušavali da oslobode taj grad. Meni se čini da se on gubi u godinama, znači da on nije shvatio 2014-2022.
To se dešavalo 2014. i 2015. i oni nisu ubijali civile u Mariupolju, ubijali su civile u Donjecku, pošto je linija fronta bukvalno išla kroz grad. Dva grada koji, Marinka i Peski, oni bukvalno su tu jedan uz drug, Donjecki i Marinka, i oni izađu na tamo, jedna ulica deli.
Looks like that I have to apologize, looks like that I misinterpret. So here is the real story. He did not, that God of Mariupol, he did not kill civilians inside of the city of Mariupol. Everything happens in 2014, 2015. He killed civilians in Donetsk city, in Peski, that is a suburb of Donetsk, due to the fact that battle line was pretty much right to the middle of the city.
So for me, if I understand that better. To me, it sounds like Ukrainian soldiers view, according to you, they view civilians in Donetsk as Russian.
Da li to znači, sad mislim da ste bolje razumeli, mislim, da li to znači da su ukrajinski snajperisti civile u Donjecku vidjeli kao ruske?
Da. Da.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I understand what you're saying now. So moving on to the.
Just a moment. Da bi bolje razumeo, znači nisu svi ukrajinski vojnici takvi. Sa ukrajinske strane je imalo mnogo pravilnih vojnika koji su ratovali protiv nas, protiv vojnika. Znači treba da se napravi razlika između nacističkih bataljona koji tamo postoje i ukrajinskih vojnika. To su sasvim dve različite stvari. Često se dešavalo da su ukrajinski vojnici nama davali koordinate gde se nalaze nacistički bataljoni da bi ih mi uništavali.
Before we go further, I just want to clear a few things. We have to make a clear distinctions between Ukrainian army and Nazi battalion, fascist battalion that were organized inside Ukraine. Ukrainian army, they are trying to have a fight with us, I mean with the soldiers. The Nazi battalion are always trying to get an easy target. And you also have to understand that on numerous occasions, the members of Ukrainian army gave us exact coordinates where the Nazi battalion are located and situated in order to for us to eliminate them.
Okay. Some of the people in the chat are asking, they're curious, what unit were you serving with during this time? And what unit was the Ukrainian sniper? God, what was his name? God something? But
God of Mariupol.
Do you know what unit he was serving in?
Da li možeš da kažeš u kojoj si ti jedinici tada služio, a u kojoj jedinici služio taj bog Mariupola?
U to vreme ja sam bio u Lički Zahačenka, naš bataljon koji je bio pod njegovom komandom, zvao se bataljon Čečen, a on, ja ne znam gde je on služio, ja mislim da je on bio odeljeno od svih drugih brigada. Ja ne mogu sad da kažem da je on bio u Azovu, u Ajdaru, stvarno ne mogu da kažem u kojoj brigadi on služio.
At that time, I was in a battalion called Chechen. We were under direct control of the president of Donetsk People's Republic. And in regards to the God of Mariupol, I cannot say with certainty was he part of the Azov battalion or some other battalion. I really do not know.
And did I understand correctly when we spoke the other day that you stayed in touch with a friend of his, that you still communicate with a friend of that sniper that you killed?
Koliko sam ja tebe razumeo, ti si ostao u kontaktu sa jednim prijateljem od snajperiste kojeg si ti eliminisao. Da li je to prijatelj od tog boga Mariupola?
Ne, to je prijatelj od snajperiste koji se zvao Deduška. No, u prevodu tak Deduška.
No, I am in contact with a friend of the former Ukrainian sniper who were fighting under the nickname Granta. In Russian it will be Dedushka. That was yet another sniper that I had a duel with.
I takođe u jako dobrim odnosima sam bio sa devojkom koju su poslali iz Amerike da obučava ukrajinske snajperiste u bataljonu Ajdar. Mi smo se mnogo prepisivali, mnogo smo se razgovarali. 3 godine smo se mi prepisivali.
I also have a very good connection and excellent relationship with one lady from United States. She was the sniper instructor for the battalion Aydar. We keep in touch for pretty much 3 years. So yes, we have a very decent conversation among us.
So you'd set up another sniper duel through social media with another sniper? Can you explain how that went?
To znači ti si imao, to je bio drugi snajperski duel koji si ti dogovorio preko socijalnih mreža.
Njih je bilo 7.
I had 7 different sniper duels. Organized via social network.
I to ja nisam nikog priglašavao, oni su meni pisali, a ne ja njim.
And they were always the initiator. They were contacting me and challenged me to come to have a duel with them.
Možete da pogledate film tamo Rat snajpera, on je sa engleskim prevodom i tada će vam sve postati mnogo jasnije.
You can take a look at that movie that I sent it to you. There is English subtitles as well, so it will be much easier for you to understand what actually did happen.
I watched a lot of it, and I want to clarify for the viewers so that they who haven't seen it can understand.
Ja sam pogledao dosta od tog filma, čekam i da moji gledalci također pogledaju, tako da možemo da bolje razumemo situaciju.
Jer mnogo je prostije kad je rat između 2 države. Tad je sve mnogo prošće. Naprimjer, kad ste vi bili u Iraku, vi ste Amerikanci s jedne strane, Iračani su sa druge strane, neki irački saveznici su s vama, to je sve mnogo prostije, ali kad je građanski rat, to je jako komplikovano, zato što je sve zamršeno, špijuna ima i s jedne i s druge strane, bolesnih ljudi koji su uzeli oružje u ruke ima i s jedne i s druge strane. Ne postoji ni u jednom ratu potpuno ispravna jedna strana, gdje su svi tamo lepi, dobri, pametni, nema toga, ne biva. Neki idu u rat... daj.
There is a huge difference between this war in Ukraine and with the war that, for example, you fought in Iraq. In Iraq, we had two sides, two countries that were fighting against each other. Here in Ukraine, we have such a mixture. The families are divided. One part of the family or one son is on one side, another one is on another side. You have to understand that there is so many people who are living in the different parts of Ukraine, maybe under the Ukrainian rule, but they do believe that they should be part of the Russia, and vice versa. There is some people who are living in the Donetsk People Republic, and they do strongly believe that they should be part of Ukraine. So we can say there is such a mixture, such chaos, because it's a pure civil war. It's not a war between two countries. It is internal war. It's a mess.
You might be surprised the similarities with Iraq. There were a lot of different factions. You had the Sunnis, the Shiites, the Kurds. It was, in a way, a civil war there as well.
Ne znam da li znaš, ali i u Iraku nije baš bilo sve tako čisto i tamo postoje Sunni, Šija, Kurdi. Također možemo da kažemo da je kod njih bio građanski rat.
Da, ali za vas kao stranca to nije bio građanski rat.
Then again, you as a foreigner, you as United States military, you have a clear line between yourself and your enemy.
Šiti i suniti, oni ratuju otkad postoje. Kurdi nemaju svoju državu, oni su u Iraku borili da bi dobili jedan deo teritorije da bude njihova država. To je njihov unutrašnji rat, ali za vas kao strance sve je mnogo prošće.
Shia and Sunni Muslims, they are fighting each other for the hundreds of years. Kurds, as such, they do not have their own country, call them own, so they are trying to get some territory for themselves. We can understand all of that, but then again, you as a member of U.S. military, you have a clear cut, such as this is my line, this is my friend, and whoever is on the other side is my enemy. We do not have that clear line.
You feel like the lines are more blurred in Ukraine. What does that cause problems?
Ti misliš da su znači, linije razdvajanja među našim snagama i ukrajinskim snagama pomešane, da je vama puno teže ratovati?
Ja nisam razumio.
Njegovo pitanje, da li ti misliš da su u Ukrajini linije ne tako jasne koji je protiv koga i samim time da si zbog toga što nije jasno koji je tvoj neprijatelj, da je vama teže?
Pa ne, ovdje se jasno zna ko je protiv koga, međutim svejedno to je građanski rat. Ovdje se dešava da je, na primjer, kod mene u bataljonu je ratovao čovjek, a njegov sin je ratovao u bataljonu Azov protiv nas. Zbog toga je to sve komplikovano.
Well, I will give you an example. Why do I believe it's much more complicated? One of the members of my battalion, he had a son, and his son was fighting for the Nazi battalion. Azov ili Aidar?
Azov.
He fights for the Azov battalion. So you can just try to understand how difficult it was for that gentleman to fight with Azov battalion, knowing that his son might be there.
I honestly can't even imagine what that would be like. I have no point of reference, but I can appreciate how difficult that must be of a situation.
Meni je jako teško da razumem, zato što nikada se nisam susretao sa takvom situacijom, ali mogu samo da zamislim da je to izuzetno teška situacija.
I još malo bit će građanski rat u Americi, tako da će moći da razume.
Looks like there will be a civil war even in the United States of America. So you might be able to understand that at that point.
I don't know if it's going to be the North versus the South this time. I guess it'll be the Republicans versus the Democrats.
Ne znam da li će to biti rat jug protiv severa ili će to biti rat republikanaca protiv demokrata.
Pa verovatno rat republikanaca protiv demokrata i sve vas polako vodi k tome, ali najbolje bi bilo da ga ne bude, da se političari dogovore, međutim šansa da ne bude rata je jako mala, zato što je jako mnogo slobodnog kapitala koju oni moraju negde da rasporede. Uglavnom svi ratovi idu zbog financija, ništa drugo. Demokratija to je čista laž.
In my mind, looks like there will be a fight between Democrats and Republicans. I really do hope that it won't come to that. But then again, everything leads to that due to the fact that rhetoric from both sides is such flammable that at least in my mind, everything goes in that direction due to the fact that lots of free capital is utilized to spur problems among ordinary people. And as you know, every war starts and ends due to the economics.
Verovatno bi mu bilo interesantno da popriča sa Oljom, to je devojka koja je snimala film. Ona kada je, film Rat snajpera, ona kada je prvi put uzimala od mene intervju, rekla je da sam ja radikalna budala.
Well, I do believe that it will be very helpful for you to have an interview with the director of that movie, Sniper War. Her name is Olja. Due to the fact that when we met and when she took my first interview, she called me radical idiot.
Pa, zato što sam joj tada rekao da će sve šta će da bude narednih 7-8 godina, ja sam joj ispričao. Objasnio sam joj da će da će biti ono tipa Black Lives, kako se oni već nazivaju, da će tako nešto da krene u Evropi. Tačno sam joj rekao kad će da krenu problemi u Belorusiji, zatim na Kavkazu, da će biti rat i posle toga da će biti jako velik rat na Ukrajini. Znači sve što je bilo, ja sam joj sve to rekao nekih 5 godina unapred, a ona mi se tada smejala, a sad se čudi kako sam to mogao da znam. U principu sve je to jako prosto ako se neko bavi ozbiljno, široko analitikom.
The fact of the matter is, I explained to her what is going to happen in Middle East. I explained to her that it will be a huge crisis in Europe. I explained to her that it will be a war on Caucasus. I did explain to her that it will be a major battle in Ukraine. She didn't believe me at that time, but right now she does understand that if you analyze situation properly, you can come to a conclusion what might happen next.
Well, the civil war in America won't happen as long as those Russian bots stay off of Facebook.
Ja mislim da rata u Americi neće biti dok god ruski botovi, ako se maknu ruski botovi sa mreže.
Da, verovatno su ti ruski botovi...
Joking, of course.
Daj.
I'd like to move into can you explain the lead up to the battle in Kiev, the lead up to the invasion, or whatever you want to call it, in 2022? How did you find yourself were you in Belarus? Can you walk me through how you met up with a unit there? What unit did you fight with in Kiev? Can you explain that lead up to the invasion?
Da li možeš da mi objasniš situaciju koja je prethodila tvom napadu na Kijev, invaziju Kijeva, kako god tebi odgovara. Ti si krenio iz Belorusije, kako si došao u tu jedinicu i kojim putevima i kako se to sve desi?
U kakvu jedinicu, kako si došao?
Pa u jedinicu u kojoj si bio, znači ti si nastupao sa nekom jedinicom na Kijev.
Da, to je naša specijalna jedinica za specijalne zadatke. Mi smo krenuli tamo da bi navukli na sebe 3 ukrajinske armije, da bi ih vezali na sebe kako oni ne bi mogli da krenu u pomoć ukrajinskoj armiji koja je bila u Luganskom pravcu. Zato što je prvi osnovni zadatak bio da se oslobodi Luganska republika.
Well, I was the member of the special forces, and we arrived to Kiev from Belarus, as you mentioned. Our task was to pin down 3 Ukrainian armies that were situated in and around Kiev, and to disallow them possibility to send any reinforcement to Lugansk People Republic. Because at that time, the main focus of the Russian army and Lugansk People Army was to liberate the whole Lugansk People state at that point.
Za Ukrajince je kao krasna marama, crvena marama za bika kad se pomene ruski VDV i tamo gdje smo mi bili, znači naša armija, bila je i ruska armija, bili su ruski VDV-šnici i to je unosilo veliki strah i to je jedan od razloga zašto oni nisu smeli da napuste Kijev. Bojali su se da ćemo mi ući u Kijev i realno ga zabrati.
Pretty much the whole well, I really don't know how to call that, an army that was coming to Kiev. They would consist of the special forces of the Donetsk People's Republic, Lugansk People's Republic, and by the Russian paragroup as well. That was used as scaremongering tactics to Ukrainians because they were quite afraid that such a force might be able to overtake or even to liberate, as we might say, or occupy, as you might say, Kiev itself. Therefore, we pinned down the whole 3 army and they froze. They were unable to send any reinforcement into Lugansk People's Republic.